It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to The New Next, a podcast that addresses current events and how they will impact the future. So, Matt, the natural gas prices have spiked in the U.S. as Freeport, because everybody knows what Freeport is, March 2023 as a back online date.
Yeah, it's a Freeport natural gas facility. We talked about previously on this podcast when it exploded a couple of months ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the explosion one.
Yeah, and then it created a bunch of like an instant price shock because there was a bunch of gas that was unable to be exported to Europe. So to flash back previously, Freeport's a LNG facility, so liquefied natural gas, and they basically liquefy it and put it on ships where it's in a kind of a compressed cool state so it can be shipped all over the world. Freeport had a fire and it exploded, basically had an explosion. At the time, they thought it might be back online in October. It's obviously been more serious than we've thought, but there was an expectation that that it might take longer than this March 2023 day, 2023 date. So it's basically pricing in a future assumption that domestic United States natural gas supply is going to be tighter at the end of winter, beginning of spring, because this facility is going to be back online exporting gas overseas. So there will be more demand for natural gas in the U.S. I think it's really interesting for many reasons, because, when you can't get like hydrocarbons, or I guess any sort of essential product where it needs to be used, then typically that means that there's less supply in one location and more demand. So the price spikes, and then there's more supply in one place and less demand there. So the price is essentially lower. I've seen this especially in the Northeast of the U.S., like in the oil and gas industry in recent years, because pipeline capacity hasn't been enough. So at times when everybody's producing a lot and you can't get the natural gas out, at least in the U.S., you're not allowed to put natural gas on trains and rail at places. So you basically need pipelines and you need ships, and natural gas, unlike oil, is more dependent on this kind of infrastructure, this global infrastructure that allows it to get to markets. And whenever there's a break in that infrastructure, say there's a pipeline explosion in Europe or Egypt or something like that, or terrorist attack in some country and it causes pipeline to be shut down, natural gas that really kind of, I would say, affects like localized markets,
right?
Really a lot in kind of these like spike situations. So it's just interesting. And on an environmental side too, when you can't get the gas out to sell it, you have to do something with it. There's been new technology we've talked about that's entered the market in recent years, like using that gas to power generators to mine Bitcoin, for instance. But the cheapest way historically is to just burn it. And that's, called flaring. And I personally think that that's been really a big black eye on the industry in, I would say the earlier part of the last decade. So, especially in the late of the last decade, companies really tried to mitigate this, and so it's just really interesting. Europe's in a multi-year demand crunch because they basically cut off this Russian supply, and it's causing a lot of reshuffling of global supply for natural gas. So it's really interesting to see that both when the demand has changed so suddenly and the supply has changed, there's kind of like in the process of reshuffling what it does to prices based on kind of, out of an entire natural gas infrastructure all over the world, one facility, the fate of that coming online is going to affect natural gas prices. It's always one of those tidbits about oil and gas market that I find is truly extraordinary.
So does natural gas, I know this is like remedial information and I haven't read your new book yet, but is natural gas the same thing as like the gas that I'm pumping in my car?
No, natural gas would be like basically methane. So
like utilities and stuff? Yeah,
the stuff that you use primarily for heating, and then they use it for vehicles, running ships and stuff like that. And natural gas is used very high use in industry for like making fertilizers and stuff like that, which is also kind of an interesting component of this too, is with sanctions on Russia, we talked a lot about how the fertilizer industry has had to rebalance also. So that's reshuffled the global demand for natural gas to make fertilizer also. It's kind of interesting being on LinkedIn and seeing people in my network that were formerly working for the oil field companies in Russia that I know, basically switch their profile from, Baker Hughes, Russia, to whatever the new name is, kind of like McDonald's did. I don't know what it's called now. Let's just call it McHappy Burger or something.
McRussia, you just eat it and it's good. It's good for you. Otherwise we kill you. It's a different kind of McRib. If you don't eat it, you'll have your ribs sticking out of your Mick.
That's ignorant.
Ignorance is bliss. And you're going to be like, yep, we're going to get all this hate mail from Russia now.
Yeah, we do have some Russian listeners. So.
And we appreciate you because you know what? You make us look cool. So that's what's important in life.
Yeah.
If you would like to learn more about the New Next Podcast, find us at thenewNextPodcast.com, where you can suggest a topic you would like for us to cover. If you enjoyed what you heard, share the podcast, tell a friend about it, or rate us with 5 stars.